This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services. Providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
When the world slows down and you can really take a look at your life and what's going on, because for the most part, everyone has a pretty busy life. Things coming, things going. But every once in a while, you really should try and slow things down. Take stock in your life. It's almost a walk down memory lane. There can be definite moments of nostalgia. And for the podcast, it's digging through the archives, right? Like finding those golden moments, revisiting some of the most outstanding guests that you've heard over the years. And without tooting the horn too loudly, we've had some brilliant minds on the podcast, straight up creative geniuses and downright fascinating guests. And you're going to hear from this week's musical guests in just a second. Coming up shortly, in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, Canadian Olympic curler Emma Miskew talks about her workout schedule and what it takes to compete at the national level. That is powered by FKP MMA. Learn self-defense, build your self-esteem, prepare yourself for the unknown. There's something to be said about being able to protect yourself and those around you. One of the owners, one of the coaches, Jaden Martin, recently had a fight in the BFL. He won by knockout 31 seconds into the fight. Nice work, Jaden. My youngest, Levi, has been going a couple times a week. He's into his third year now. Absolutely loves it. They are Vancouver's #1 training destination at fkpmma.com. First, let's get to those musical guests from over the years, all of whom are now powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Get over 20 years experience, and you can use their state-of-the-art studio as well. Commercial sound on an indie budget. They do great work. Check them out through the hawkinssoundranch.com. So do you remember where you were when you heard that Alice in Chains singer Lane Staley had died? Back then, I was still in radio. I was hosting a show on CFox called the 6 o'clock Rock Report. And that was all about the music news of the day. There was live performances and stuff. So that stuff was kind of always on my radar. And when it came out that Lane had passed, we learned that he had died like 2 weeks prior to the police finding him. It was a sad, sad day, of course, in rock, and a day that you would think would pretty much mean the end of Alice in Chains. But fast forward a handful of years, and in comes new and current singer William Duvall. And right around the time that William was a guest, they'd been on tour with Guns N' Roses, he talked about meeting Axl Rose and how cool and what an honor it was to open up for GNR.
Totally. Oh gosh, what an honor. Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're just happy as fans of that band that this is working out.
Right.
That they were able to do this, and then we're happy for our friends, Slash and Duff, who we've sort of shared a friendship with for quite a while now, and then to be asked to be a part of it, that's just icing on the cake, really. I mean, we were totally honored to play those first 2 shows at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas back in April, prior to their even sort of really launching this tour they're on now.
That's right.
That was amazing. That was total history in the making there, and then we did the first 5 stadium shows with them, and then we just did Seattle with them last week. So yeah, totally amazing. And I mean, when rock music in 2016 can do that kind of business. When an American rock band, American hard rock band can do that kind of business to where it transcends rock music, it transcends music almost. It becomes this like sporting event type, level thing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's really incredible.
I like that William was excited about meeting Axl, opening for GNR. And when he was a guest, it was in part to promote his other project called Giraffe Tongue Orchestra. And if you haven't heard about this band yet, it's made up of members of Alice, obviously, with members of Mastodon, the Dillinger Escape Plan, Mars Volta, and Death Clock. Pretty rowdy combination. Listen to William talk about his career highlights.
Wow, gosh. Okay. I would say, the GTO album coming out, that's a big thing. And I would say that playing Madison Square Garden with Alice in Chains on the Black Diamond Sky Tour, like headline in the Garden, that was a big day. And I would say that South American tour that we did, I believe it was in 2013, that was big because I just couldn't believe the audiences in Brazil and in Chile and in Argentina. And I mean, it was just, that was like one of those tours where it's like, okay, well, this is why I signed up to be in a band. Like, this was every kind of glorified scenario. People, you can't leave the hotel. People just camped out. People, accosting you at the airport. Just the explosive energy when you're on stage, it was unique. Obviously we played a lot of great shows, but I remember that tour as just being a non-stop wave of energy and adoration, the likes of which I'd never experienced.
From a staple of the Seattle grunge sound to an American singer-songwriter you'll know for so many genres, blues, folk, soul, rock, reggae, Ben Harper has released 12 studio albums and is well known for his outstanding live show. We talked about his first concert experience, seeing a legend at a young, impressionable age.
I was almost 10 years old, and it was in North Hollywood, Burbank area. A place, it's closed down now, but it was an outdoor amphitheater called the Starlight Amphitheater. And it was, as you can imagine, an incredibly memorable experience, even for a youngster. It almost made it more profound. The times I had with my dad were far and few between, so they stand out with an absolute clarity like nothing else. And the whole thing is clear as a bell. And you don't realize how rare it is till you get older. Now I tell people I saw Bob Marley. It's like telling people I saw Jesus.
Mm. And were you playing music by then? Like, did that influence you at all, that one show?
I had one of the youngest I had one of the youngest record collections on my blog, which was just starting to take shape at that point. I didn't play music then. I did. I mean, the center of the house was a piano, and there were guitars everywhere, which my parents and my mom actually, if you put your hands on your parents' expensive instruments often enough, they will eventually get you your own. So I would keep putting my hands on my mom's, like, Fancy Martin guitar, and finally she's like, oh, no, you're going to have your own.
Right? Like, how does that compare to your first concert, seeing Bob Marley? Mine was Dr. Hook. It was in the early 80s up in Kitimat, BC. No offense to the Hook, of course, but Bob Marley slightly crushes that. So Ben's an absolute beast in the music world, of course, a 3-time Grammy Award winner, 7-time nominee. At the 40th Blues Music Award, Ben's song that he did with Charlie Musselwhite called No Mercy in the Land was named Song of the Year. Here, Ben talks about the music industry and the focus on releasing singles over albums.
I wonder, because singles, that's what started the music business, was singles. Elvis and the 45s and the A and the B side of the 45s, they preceded long play LPs.
Right.
And it seems like there's a good chance in the next 10 years we may be getting back to the single, or at least EPs, which are extended plays, which are like 3 or 4 song CD, 3 or 4 song
record.
Yeah, releases. So I still love making albums. There's a part of me that would on occasion follow the trend of singles, but I mainly plan on, I think for Steve's question, it's about, if you're going to be an album, a group that wants to make an album, a body of work, keep it tight. Keep it to 40 minutes or so, and I think that'll not only sharpen up the choices you make in the process, but it'll also give people a chance to get to the end of it, get all the way through it.
From a 3-time Grammy Award winner to one of the most successful rock bands of all time, Def Leppard. Formed in 1976. It's the same band member since 1992. The band you see right now touring, making music together for over 3 decades. They've sold over 100 million albums. They have 2 diamond albums, which mean over 10 million albums sold each, with Pyromania and Hysteria. And when Def Leppard's lead guitarist Phil Collen was a guest, you heard him talking about the bands who influenced him early on in life.
I grew up in London, so, the radio was, back then, you couldn't just listen to everything. That's what when I got to North America, you had all different genres of music playing all the time, and it was in everyone's DNA. In England, you really had to search it out. And, the Stones were disciples of the blues, and, that kind of was evident, as were, Zeppelin and stuff like that. So, we got a lot of the stuff secondhand from the stuff that was there, but just growing up, anything that, looking back, that actually was good. And I mean, anything from, obviously, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Kinks, all that stuff. But then, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, the Beach Boys records, when I was very little and knew that there was something special going on. So, my first concert was Deep Purple, and then I got into guitar after that. And then just a mixture of everything. I saw Joe Pass, the jazz guitar player, playing in Ronnie Scott's club when I was a teenager. And again, being in London, there was access to a lot of stuff, and it was right across the board. I loved Tina Turner. I thought she sounded great. And a lot of the Motown stuff was killer, and funk stuff, and then heavy metal, and then the punk thing. I just saw just purity and great stuff in all of this music. I didn't kind of just let a genre, because I'm a rock guitar player, just listen to that. So I think that was a very healthy appetite, and I think that early on when I just said, well, I like this because I like it, if it was some really cheesy pop song, I could still like it as much as I would say, a Deep Purple song.
And it's so cool to hear who influenced Phil, considering the band that he is in. Def Leppard ranked number 31 on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of Hard Rock, number 70 of all time. And of course, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 2019. All
of it, it's not a blur. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. But I think one moment that stands out that kind of shocked me is when we got we went to receive our diamond album for Hysteria, and it was in this Roseland Theater in New York City, and it was the first time they'd ever had this event. So it was only 68 artists who had ever achieved it, and
wow.
There's Elton John, there's Billy Joel, there's ZZ Top, there's the Pink Floyd guys, Zeppelin, there's us, Metallica. I mean,
there's only a handful.
MC Hammer was in there. I mean, it was just right across the board, all in this one room. And I remember going up to the podium, because everyone went up and said, thank you and da-da-da and all that. And I said, well, this is great. And I looked out at the audience, and then I just saw, Jimmy Page, Elton John, and it was like, wow, they're peers.
And from Def Leppard's lead guitarist to a legendary American singer-songwriter from Williamton, Delaware, how cool was it to hear George Thorogood on the podcast? I mean, you could not turn on the radio in the 80s and not hear George's music, from Bad to the Bone, I Drink Alone, Who Do You Love, One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer. Classics. Listen to George talk about his first concert and the impact that had on him.
First concert I ever saw was Chuck Berry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mother, of all people, actually had a school and said you got to get up a road to Pennsylvania. It was quite a ways from where I lived, and to see him, and I had, I was vaguely aware of him. I was very young. I was vaguely aware of Chuck Berry. And I know he was very instrumental in getting the Rolling Stones started, and I heard a couple of his songs. Didn't know that much about him, so but that was my first show. So where do you go after that?
No doubt, man. That's like talk about setting the bar right out of the gate.
Yes, exactly. And I may add, I got to meet him that night too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. He was very polite and gave me an autograph. And he had a local band called the In Crowd that was playing with him. It was playing pretty much contemporary things, and they backed him up. And he was really good, and the band was really good too. And they were a bunch of young kids who didn't know how to play. They were professionals, and he gave a solid concert, and I was allowed to go in and kind of stand at the back because it was a bar, it was a tavern. I was a little kid, and but the music hit me. I understood what was going on.
I mean, that is a damn good first concert. And I guess you could almost say the start of the road traveled. George and his band, The Destroyers, have released over 20 albums, 2 platinum, 6 gold, over 15 million albums sold. He's still banging away, still touring, still playing for the fans. I think that this year is the 50th year for the band. And you'll love this. Honestly, not even sure how I managed to get him talking specifically about this one song. But here George shares what stands out about writing Bad to the Bone. Bad.
Well, there's a couple of things about it. I mean, I really wasn't interested or did much songwriting. I still don't really. But at that time, I know we needed something more if we were going to. I could see the dawning of like MTV, and we were touring around doing these shows with the Rolling Stones and Jay Giles, and we would have an opening lick to Love Stinks, or the opening lick to Start Me Up, or Honky Tonk Woman. The crowd would just erupt, and so you got to get a signature tune, and if you don't, it's going to be 5-10 years from now, people are going to forget about you. And it's just saying, who was that third guy? Wasn't he good at playing Bo Diddley or something?
Right.
And I said, no. If you want to last, you gotta get some tunes there, And as time goes on, year after year, Todd, if you look at somebody, the average person walking down the street, with the exception of someone like the Beatles or Bob Dylan, you say mention 5 Thorogood songs. Well, they might be able to mention 2, maybe 3. That's on a good day. But if you got 1, then you've survived.
Toddcast Podcast musical guest visits are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Use their 20-plus years of experience to record at their state-of-the-art studio. Commercial sound on an indie budget. Visit thehawkinssoundranch.com for more.
So you wanna be a cowboy, make your mama proud, singing songs about heartache with that southern sound. You wear your boots in the city, 'cause farming ain't as fun. You're dropping lines with William Duvall, bragging about the time you held your daddy's gun. I know you never had a showdown, and you never rode a horse. Oh, you're trying so hard to dress the pie. It looks like you took a course. You ain't fooling, 'cause I know that you got what it takes. I know that you got what it takes. But who knows if you know, we know you're a fake. I know that you got what it takes. Wanna move out to the country and find yourself a piece of land, or settle down with your sweetheart and start playing in a honky-tonk band. I bet you wish you drove a pickup while sipping on PBR. Oh, you're quick as a hiccup, posing at the local bar. You ain't fooling, 'cause I know that you got what it takes. I know that you got what it takes. But who knows?
Stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
Historically, Canada's Olympic curling teams have consistently dominated the global stage. Unparalleled skill, precision, and strategy. And you'll know Emma Miskew as second on Team Haman, one of our best curling teams. They represented Canada at the 2018 Winter Olympics. More on that in a sec. Emma clobbered the competition when she was younger. 4 straight provincial bantam championships from 2003 through 2006. This at a time when no other curler had even won twice. And when Emma jumped on a Zoom with us, she talks about the value of hardship in curling, the camaraderie, the adversity, the ups, the downs. We talked about winning her first Grand Slam final in 2011, playing in her first Canada Cup, the disastrous, here it is, the 2018 Winter Olympics, the first time Canada was ever 0-3 at an Olympics. She talked about her business, Shimmer and Oak, pre-game superstitions, great stories, seeing NSYNC in concert, gambling, the Beatles, classic rock. She shared a near-death story, the shows she was binge-watching. And stop me if you've heard this before, Emma talked about her training regime and what it takes to compete at the national level.
Yeah. So when we're at home, I practice 6 of 7 days a week. And if I'm by myself, I'm out there for about an hour. If we have a team practice, it's usually about 3. And then on top of that, I'm doing some sort of physical activity, whether it's working with my trainer, interval training or cardio on the off days. Not on the off, like every day. And there's one off day,
right,
where I'll actually just fully recover and maybe do a yoga. So it's multiple hours a day that go into the training. And it's more just, I don't think everybody puts the same amount of time into their training. I think it depends person to person on what individually you need in order to perform. For me, I never want to feel like I didn't do enough. So it's hard for me to turn it off. So I'm always out there until it feels perfect. But then there's other people who, if they go too far, it actually is more detrimental to their performance. So they have to cut it off at a certain point. So yeah, it's really just up to the individual.
Stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by FKP MMA, Vancouver's #1 training destination at fkpmma.com. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit canadianclub.com today.
Yes,
That band is Sleep Circle, and their song is Condition. As of Friday, February 23rd, you can see them. That's only 3 days away. TikTok, Blue Light Studio for the Toddcast podcast Blue Light Sessions. Again, it's Sleep Circle and Freeborn Soul. And I'm going to play something from Freeborn Soul later on. These are super, super fun nights. Each band, Cole's notes for you. They get 45-minute set. There's an interview and the performance. You can ask questions of the band as well. Maybe the first 15, 20 minutes max of the 45 minutes. It's not just me talking, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Intimate, interactive. Buy tickets early, save $5. It's $20 right now through eventbrite.ca. Event, B-R-I-T-E. eventbrite.ca. $25 if you want to roll the dice and hope there's still tickets at the door. Doors are at 7 o'clock. The show gets rolling about 8:15, 8:30 at the very latest. It'll go till around 10:30-ish. It's a fairly early night when you think about a Friday night. Played you Bend Sinister, B-E-N-D, Bend Sinister, and a new song for them called You Got What It Takes. They were part of a night at the Rickshaw Theatre about a month back, a big night for those guys with Spendo, Brass Camel. There was a handful of other local bands. I think that they raised over $7,000 that night and donated all the charities to BC Children's Hospital. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about this just yet, but I was asked to host next year. They're already thinking of next year's show. And of course, my response was, I'm like, if I'm here, yes, it's a resounding yes. It was such a success that they're going to do it all over again. A band together was what they called that night. So look for it for next year as well. So coming up in just a few minutes in Listen to This, retired BC Lions quarterback Travis Lulay talking about his career highlights. That is powered by our good buddies at Tedco RV Supplies out in Langley. RV service, repairs, ICBC accredited, 8-year sponsors, absolutely key to why we've been able to continue making podcasts over the years. Big love to Tamara and her crew down at Tedco. Find them through TedcoRVSupplies.com. And they're also on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. Speaking of football, went to the Super Bowl. There was a big party last weekend at the title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services, at the owner's place, Dara. Great to hang out and meet some new people and meet some new friends. And of course, you're always like the life of the party. Walking in, I walked in with a couple flats of Nude vodka, Nude beverages. They're back on as a sponsor for the entire year. They signed on again, thanks to Mike. You can get cans of Nude vodkas at all of our live shows at Blue Light Studio as well. And of course, anything mortgage related, talk to Dara and his team at Citywide Mortgage. Mine's coming up January next year, so no doubt there's going to be a late summer, early fall sesh. That's going to happen and kind of formulate a game plan on how we tackle this crazy market. All right, so let's get back to more guest highlights in our Over the Years podcast and some sporting guest visits, all of whom are powered by Hand Over Hand Textiles in Vancouver. Naturally dyed goods for your home, for your body, bandanas and socks and dishcloths and shirts and scarves and pillows and all that kind of stuff. You'll love their work, man. I mean, it's literally top notch. And the cool thing is they only use pure plant extracts, natural fibers. So it's actually good for Mother Earth. They are locally owned. They are locally operated. Find them through handoverhandtextiles.com, and they're also on Instagram. So you'll best know Britney Palmer as a former, longtime UFC ring card girl. She won Ring Card Girl of the Year at the World MMA Awards 5 times in 12, 13, 19, 22, and last year 23. She's a model. She was on the cover of March 2012's Playboy magazine. And did you know that she's an accomplished artist as well?
I moved to Los Angeles about 6 years ago to go to art school and, kind of just pursue my passion in it. And, I learned painting through YouTube videos. That's how I started. I was just obsessed with YouTube, and I got good enough, and I thought I was posting things to Twitter. Back then there was no Instagram, but I would post things, and all of the fans and the people who would follow me loved it, and they actually wanted to buy a piece, and that's when I thought, oh shoot, maybe I can make this a career. Yeah, so I did.
They're really good. They're really good.
Thank you.
Have you always had the artistic bug? Like, does it go back to you being a kid, maybe high school?
Yeah, I've always, when I was in high school, I was in art classes naturally, but I was always really, really good at it, and just, picked it up. I used to draw all the time on my binders and stuff. But, I grew up in Las Vegas, so there's not a lot of culture there. And there's not a lot of art culture, so I didn't really think that I could be that could be even an option.
Mm-hmm.
And then right out of high school, I was a professional dancer, and I danced in the big Vegas shows, and I danced at the Flamingo for 3 years, and I was at Planet Hollywood, and so I was artistic in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in a really bad car accident when I was 21, and it kind of hindered my dancing. And I couldn't walk for like 3 months. So then I took a little back, dancing took a back seat, and I picked up the brush and started to paint.
It's cool, right? You can check out Britney's work online. You'll love it. She's really good. She's raised over $100,000 in donations through her paintings. She's had exhibits and been featured at galleries in LA, Miami, New York, Hong Kong, Milan. Super impressive stuff. A diverse lifestyle, different career paths too. One of the interesting things about Britney was that she started her performing arts career dancing in Las Vegas. Shows like Jubilee and X Burlesque at Bally's and the Flamingo. And it wasn't until she got into a bad car accident that left her bedridden that she started working on her art. Then moved to LA, studied art history, worked with acrylics, oils, and aerosols at the University of California. Listen to what Britney says about career highlights.
I think that it would be, the first time I went to Australia, I was with the UFC. So that was just kind of, and I just gotten into the UFC I was only maybe in for a couple months, and I was already flying to Australia, and I was just, in awe.
How cool is that, right? Like, what?
Yeah. Like, this is my company. Like, this is where I go. They give me a hotel. Oh, shoot, I'm getting a per diem. Oh, my gosh. Like, crazy. I really am here for free, and I get to do something I love. And, and then there are times where there's fights, like the fights that happen, here at the Staples Center or, that just passed. Or there's always, or when, Conor lost his belt to Diaz. Like, that was, a highlight. It's just something that just to be a part of something so big and, all of it really.
From a former UFC ring card girl to an NHL All-Star, you'll know Vincent Trocheck as a center for the New York Rangers, selected by the Florida Panthers in the third round, going 64th overall back in 2011 in the entry draft. Vincent was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so he said it was one hell of a trip the first time playing against Sid the Kid.
Starstruck by any player that I played against?
Played against or met or whatever, I guess, yeah.
I think the first time that I played against Sid in Pittsburgh, my first year, I don't know if I'd say starstruck, but it was pretty surreal. I mean, growing up in Pittsburgh, I looked up to Sid, and for his first, I think it was 5-6 years before I came in the league. I obviously, everybody was in awe at how good he was. So going against him, I think it was like the first face-off of the game at center ice. I got to go against him, and it was pretty surreal looking across the center dot and seeing him. But once the game starts, it kind of all fades away.
Yeah, fair. I mean, obviously being Canadian and him scoring that huge goal in the 2010 Olympics, like he's a legend. Guy's a legend. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a cool memory for Vincent to have, hey? As you would expect, out of an NHL All-Star, he was part of this year's festivities. He's been a strong hockey player his whole life, since the get-go. Played in the Quebec International Pee Wee Hockey Tournament. He worked his way to the bigs, playing with the Panthers AHL affiliate, the San Antonio Rampage. Scored his first NHL goal against the Devils back in March 2014. He signed a 6-year, $28.5 million contract with the Panthers in 16. Went to the All-Star game that year as well. Traded to the Hurricanes in 19. Then to the Rangers in 21. Then it was a 7-year, $39.375 million contract. This is great. You'll love this. Vincent talked about his career highlights and the standout memories from his first NHL game.
No, it's tough to do. I mean, haven't won a Stanley Cup, which is the main goal, and everything else, individual accomplishments, stats, and stuff like that, they all kind of mesh together.
Yeah.
I did win a World Junior Championship whenever I was still in junior, which is one of my biggest accomplishments. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And can you remember the first game you played in the NHL?
Yep. It was against Buffalo when I was playing for Florida. I got called up at the deadline. Played the last 20 games my first year. Played Buffalo game 1, Boston game 2.
How long before you got a point?
A point? I'm not sure. I scored my 5th game.
From one of the NHL's best to one of the best to race at NHRA, Del Worsham started racing in 1990. The next year became the youngest driver at only 21 years old to win NHRA Rookie of the Year.
I did. I got really lucky.
Dude.
Just getting to drive it all. I always wanted to be a drag racer, but I never knew what capacity was to be a driver or worker or tuner or just a mechanic.
Just something in that world.
And then it kind of some events took place that all of a sudden there I was 20 years old driving the car. And my first season in 1991, we were doing pretty good here and there, but I was the only full-time guy on the team. So basically on Thursday nights, I would go to the airport, pick up my dad and a couple guys. We'd run the race. Sunday nights, I'd take them home, and then I'd get the car to the next race. And we got about 5 races in, and we got to Atlanta, Georgia. And we didn't have the best running car. We didn't have a bad running car. And things just started lining up, and you could tell like we were doing pretty well. And next thing I know, here I'm in the final round against Mark Oswald in Atlanta. And true story, we were going home after that event. Basically, there just wasn't enough money. We're gonna go home, work, save up our money, and pick back up in the summertime.
Wow.
ACL Southern Nationals in Atlanta and won the damn race. So now I have $20,000 in my hand, and that was enough money to keep us going and keep us racing. And I was so shy and so naive to what was going on. I didn't even know that there was like a press conference room when he won the race. So I remember standing there, and I was all done, and I just turned 21 years old. And I'm looking for a beer, and it's a dry county, and there's no beer, and I'm tired. And Kenny Bernstein grabbed me and says, "Hey, we have to go to the press room." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to no press room." Like, "Oh no, you're going." So I have to go to the press room with Kenny Bernstein, Bob Glidden, and I believe, I forget it was Top Fuel, but it was somebody like Joe Mott. It was somebody very big. It was 3 of the biggest guys, so I was up there with them, and it was a great time.
And if you do a little bit of digging into Del's career, he's one of a handful of people who've won championships in both Top Fuel and Funny Car. 33 career victories, 8 in Top Fuel, 25 in Funny Car. Listen to Del talk about G-forces exerted on your body when you race and the differences between Top Fuel and Funny Car.
Yeah. Because I've driven both cars. Back when I first started driving in the early 90s, I actually drove both cars in competition during the same time at the same events. I raced the U.S. Nationals one time in both cars and won rounds in both cars. Won first round 6 minutes apart. And Funny Car, let's start with the Funny Car. I drove it first. You sit way far back in a Funny Car, and you can't see anything moving on the side of you. Whereas like there's no like sensation of speed because there's nothing really going by your peripheral vision. You can't see things going by where, let's say like in an airplane, when you're taking off on the runway and you're going along, you see the buildings in the road, then all of a sudden the airplane rotates and it just goes to blue skies and you don't know you're going fast anymore. Mm-hmm. So the fuel car, you can see things going by you and the sensation of speed is very great. You sit low and you can see the front wheels turning, you can see the guardrails going by, and it just feels like what you would imagine with 330 miles per hour. And sensation of speed is not there. Anything. You're driving into this little spot out there and you're trying to look over the engine and it's making noise and it's smoking and there's fire out of the windows and you're just trying to win and you're going down the track and not unless something goes wrong or something throws off your sense of what's going on, do you understand how fast you're going in a Funny Car because nothing's just really there, as opposed to the Top Fuel car just feels very fast. And right. It definitely, when you go to stop, both cars are about the same when you go to stop. My favorite part of the run has always been like pulling the parachutes. You pull the parachutes, you let off the throttle, and everything just gets quiet, and you basically just float at over 300 miles per hour with chutes out, and it's definitely an accomplishing feeling.
And from one of the best NHRA drag racers to one of the best bobsledders in the world. Originally, you saw Kaillie Humphries race for Team Canada at the Olympics in 2010, in 14, in 18. She was the 2010 and 2014 Olympic champ. She got bronze in 2018. But in 2019, she jumped to representing the United States because of alleged abuse and harassment that she says she faced from the Canadian Bobsled Federation. She won 3 IBSF World Championship medals for Team USA in 2020 and 2021 and is a 5-time world champ, the most decorated woman in bobsled history. Listen to Kaillie talk about what stands out from her first time going down a bobsleigh track.
The very first time I went down, actually, I was driving. And they had started me out, because I switched when I was 17, you have to be 18 to compete internationally.
Okay.
Because of my ski racing background, the team had wanted me to start driving. It takes about 8 to 10 years to build a really good bobsleigh pilot. And so the whole thought was, knowing my ski racing background, I should be able to be a good driver. I'm young. If they start me young, I can spend 8 to 10 years in the sport and develop really well. So my first trip down, I was a pilot, and I had no idea what I was doing, none whatsoever. They kind of give you, and they teach you as best they can, but realistically, you have no idea of the feeling or what it's, what's going to happen. How hard do you steer? They tell you how to steer and where to steer, and you do a track walk, but you really have no idea, and they kind of just push you down, and here you go. And it's kind of one of those, everyone starts out the same way, and you either make it or you don't. You're going to crash every run, or you're going to be able to make it down the bobsleigh track. And I was good, like pretty good right off the bat as a pilot. Made it down, no crashes for a couple weeks. And then I ended up having a really big crash, and it resulted, or kind of pushed me more towards the brakeman avenue for the next couple of years. So for 3 years, I was a brakeman until the 2006 games, and then I tried my hand at piloting again, which was good. I think I just needed time within this sport to learn the sport and to be able to go to an Olympics and see all of that. So the journey unfolds, as does my story. But the very first time, I had no idea what I was doing, and
of course
it was a little scary. I won't lie. And second run, I had to be a brakeman for another guy who was in the same position I was. And so you kind of swap back and forth. I was a pilot, he was a brakeman. Next run, he gets to be a pilot, I have to be his brakeman.
Right.
So you're kind of learning together, and so you just kind of grow within the sport that way, and it was fun, exhilarating, but also a little bit scary.
Could you imagine that, strapping yourself into a bobsled, humming down the track, and what an adrenaline rush that must be? Kaillie is also a monobob gold medal champ, and because she's won medals for Canada and the U.S., she's the first woman in Olympic history to win gold medals for 2 different countries. She's also one of the first women to pilot a mixed-gender team in a 4-person bobsled competition, and she was a flag bearer at the 2014 Olympic closing ceremonies.
That was very cool. I mean, at the end of the day, we'd won. There was a couple interviews and stuff over the next couple days to do. And I remember getting a phone call a couple days after we had won from Steve Podborski. And he'd called me on my cell phone, and I was like, this is weird. The chef de mission is calling you. And my first instinct was like, what did you do? What was wrong? It was never to, go to that good place. And he called and, asked if I would like to be flag bearer. And to know that your country supports you and chooses you to represent them. And it wasn't just about Olympic performance. It's not just a one-time thing, but, to walk in carrying your flag representing an entire nation and team because of, your performances over the last couple years. Canada had tons of good performances in Sochi. You have Charles Hamelin and Mikhail Kingsbury, like the list goes on. And so to know that, the Canadian team chooses you to represent them and carry the flag is a huge honor. And to top it all off, it was absolutely amazing. So I was, more than thrilled to accept, and that was definitely an experience of a lifetime.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca. And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
If you're a fan of football, of course, you'll know Travis Lulay, retired BC Lions quarterback, played with the team for 10 seasons, 2009 through 2018, an integral piece of the puzzle in skills, leadership, resilience, named the CFL's most outstanding player in 2011, was named most valuable player at the 2011 Grey Cup. Prior to playing with BC, he was quarterback in the NFL with the Seahawks and the Saints. And despite multiple offers to go move from the Lions, Travis retired from pro football in 2019. And when he was a guest, we talked about binge watching The Office and single parents. He shared his first concert story, which is great, his first football memory, aliens visiting Earth, we talked about that, talked about realizing your true potential. Legalized weed came up, so did superpowers. He shared a near-death story about backcountry dirt road driving story. Say that one 5 times fast. And Travis talked about his career highlights as well. Listen to this.
Yeah, this one's easy. The career highlights, hoisting the cup in 2011, man. That was, it becomes more fun in hindsight, too, just to recognize how special that was. A lot of people know the story. You may have been around for that or paying attention, right? But we started the year 0-5, and halfway through the year, we moved back into BC Place, and we got to playing really good football, and we were just on fire the rest of the way. As we moved back into the building, it was just packed and rocking. Everybody wanted to see the new place. The Grey Cup was in Vancouver. We win our final game, which means we get to host the Western Final. If we win the West Final, we're playing in what amounts to a home Grey Cup, and then we got it done right just in front of a rocking house. Such a cool venue that did the CFL justice, at our pinnacle moment, and I got to be directly involved in all that. So that was obviously really special. He was named the MVP of the game. We hoisted the trophy overhead and the orange and white confetti, and yeah, it was a fairy tale ending to a tough start, and it's just, it was a phenomenal life lesson for me and perseverance and overcoming the negativity and adversity at the beginning. And so, it's something that, other teams have used as example for years. We've gotten countless stories from teams, right. High school coaches and teams in other places that we started slowly and we referenced the 2011 BC Lions, and so to be a part of that kind of story and to be able to tell that story and
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Kind of make an impact years later was pretty dang cool, man.
Yeah.
Listen to this on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
Red Truck Beer, delivered fresh, the official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
I'm alive, I can feel the blood running through my veins tonight. I'm inspired by the sights and sounds that illuminate my life. One day at a time, till I clear my mind. One day, and you'll find tomorrow's waiting can feel the blood running through my veins tonight. I'm inspired, I'm electrified. You know it feels it's right for me, and I can't see it. One day at a time, until I clear my mind. One day at a time, and you'll find tomorrow's waiting. One day at a time. One day at a time. One day at a time, and you'll find tomorrow's waiting. No more mountains to climb. I'm alive. I can see the light shining through my soul tonight.
That band is Freeborn Soul, and a relatively new song for those guys called One Day at a Time. And you're only 3 days away from seeing them playing a podcast Blue Light Sessions. So it's on Friday, this Friday, February 23rd at Blue Light Studio in beautiful East Vancouver. You heard Sleep Circle earlier on in the podcast. They're part of the show. Freeborn Soul, both bands get a 45-minute set. I will interview both bands during the performance. As mentioned earlier, you can ask questions of the band as well. It's very intimate, very interactive. Buy early, save a few bucks. $5 right now through eventbrite.ca. It's $20. I don't mean you get them for $5. You save $5. Eventbrite.ca. That's all Toddcast shows through eventbrite.ca. $25 at the door. Doors are at 7 o'clock. Show will start around 8:15-ish, something like that. You heard one of my favorite Vancouver punk bands called You Big Idiot, and that was their song called Jesse's Song. And you are now less than a month away from seeing them at the Rickshaw Theatre in Vancouver. This will be a great night. Check out this band, this lineup. So it's on Friday, March 15th, Rickshaw Theatre. It's the Dreadnoughts with Balkan Schmalkin and You Big Idiot. Just $25 or $30, I think, depends on where you want to be in the venue per night. Or if you want to go to both nights, because there's back-to-back nights, I believe it's the 15th and 16th. It's $40 if you want to go to both nights. Now, speaking of live music, find a small list of shows that are happening locally here in Vancouver and the area with the indie scene through toddhancock.ca. If you're going to a show, if you're playing a show, if it's indie, let me know about it. I will put it up at the site and get you some free advertising for the show. Maybe play a song on the podcast as well. Okay, so let's get to our final guests of this Over the Years podcast, episode 325. This week's entertainment and lifestyle guests are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best craft cannabis and psilocybin dispensary by a landslide. And yes, they ship anywhere in Canada. Anywhere in Canada. You can get all kinds of things, obviously weed and mush, but we're getting into like oils and hash and peyote, vapes. They've got shatter and lollipops and all kinds of edibles. It's really impressive. I've had buddies from the Okanagan order, and they say get the order probably within a couple, 2-3 days kind of thing. It's quick. And don't forget, though, at registry, the first time you go through their website, mention you heard about them through this podcast. That will open up stuff on their site that normally isn't there. Wink, wink. Upgrade your profile mentioning the Toddcast through sacredmeds.com. So you'll know Brent Butt for many reasons. Actor, comedian, writer. Brent's probably best known for playing Brent Leroy on Corner Gas. That was on CTV. Tell you more about their animated series in just a sec. If you remember the TV show called Hiccups, he created that. He wrote the movie No Clue back in 2013. He put out a novel last year called Huge, which was a psychological thriller about touring comedians. So listen to Brent talk about the idea and how it came to be that Corner Gas became animated.
Right. I mean, when the way it came about really was, after we did the series, we did 6 seasons, 107 episodes, the notion, we all kind of liked the idea of coming back in a few years and doing a movie, doing an actual theatrical movie of Corner Gas. And so that was always on our radar, and that happened 5 years after the final live action show aired. We made this movie. It took us about 2.5 years to write it because it was a very tricky thing to write. But at the end of the day, I'm really happy with the movie, and the response to the movie was way more than anybody expected. Like we were like physically selling out theaters. Mm-hmm. None of us expected that. I remember getting a call from my brother in Calgary saying, I'm trying to go to your stupid movie and I can't get a ticket. It was like, am I supposed to be upset by that? Or
right.
So anyway, the network approached us after the success of the film, and they said, you know, obviously the appetite is still there. People still want to see Corner Gas. Do you have any interest in doing more episodes? And we just kind of didn't. We thought, you know, just coming back and doing more of the same would feel, you know, it would very much feel like kind of a rut. But, you know, it's a nice offer, and the notion of being employed is always, you know, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, you know, if we my partners and I, we started talking about this. If we were to do something, what would we do? And that's when the idea of animation came up, because we had talked about it once before of doing an animated scene during the live action show. We did an animated Lego version of Corner Gas, like a scene in one of the episodes.
Right.
And we had talked about doing a regular animated thing. It never came together. It wasn't practical, but so anyway, when we started kicking around this idea of what could we do, that came up. It was like we started revisiting the notion of an animated Corner Gas.
And that was really well done as well. Like, honestly, I might like the animated series better than the original Corner Gas. Brent is arguably one of the most successful Canadian comedians. He's certainly up there anyway. A career that goes back to 1988. He was trying out stand-up comedy at an amateur night in Saskatoon. If that ain't Canadian enough for you, I don't know what is. Then he started performing at Yuck Yucks in Western Canada, then moved to Toronto. It's bigger and bigger and bigger and better. From there, you saw Brent claw his way through performances for CTV, CBC, the Comedy Network. Corner Gas was put out in 2003. In 2008, Brent was given the Comedy Network Sir Peter Ustinov Award, which is presented to recognize a significant body of comedic work. Past recipients include John Cleese, Bob Newhart, Eugene Levy, and John Candy, who Brent says, John Candy, is likely at the top of Canadian comedians all time.
I would put John Candy maybe at the top of the pile. Hard to pick a top of the pile of Canadian comedy, as it's a long list of hilarious people. But, I mean, that whole cast of SCTV was, you know, what a bunch of geniuses piled together all at once. Like, that's this weird confluence of comedic genius that happened to be in the same place at the same time.
From one of Canada's top comedians to September 2021's penthouse pet, Carolina White. It hasn't been very long that Carolina has been posing nude. She's been modeling since her teens and recently thought, why not? Indeed, why not? She considers herself a jack of all trades, having done a bunch of jobs over the years, from managing a med spa, working as a veterinarian surgical tech. Did you know that Buck Cherry singer Josh Todd is a licensed phlebotomist? Well, so is Carolina. As mentioned, she's been modeling since her teens, since 15, and always looked up to Cindy Crawford.
Well, I started modeling when I was 15. So I've been more in the mainstream, like fashion side of modeling for a long time. So growing up in the 90s, I'm trying not to give away my age here. Growing up in the 90s, obviously looked up to like classic 90s supermodels like Cindy Crawford and you know, people like that. But, you know, it wasn't until about 3 years ago when I kind of decided to try other things and kind of explore this world and this side of the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy that I'm able to do both, because why not?
You know, if you listen to Carolina's full interview, you'll hear her talking about being a big fan of The Walking Dead and how she had a fling with one of the actors. She talked about the shows beyond that she was binge watching. She talked about writing erotic fiction as a teen. She shared her first concert story, seeing Blink-182. We talked about the best places to vacation. Vegas came up. COVID came up, and you'll see that she's more than just a model. She's a model who is a gigantic comic book nerd, especially for Captain America.
I think anybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Marvel fan.
Oh, you are?
Oh God, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like, I think that anybody that actually like knows me, even as this character, like knows that I'm obsessed with like Captain America and like just the Avengers in general. So yeah, that's after Endgame though. I haven't really followed the storyline. I haven't really gotten into the whole like Disney Plus Falcon and Winter Soldier, Black Widow. Like I haven't really ventured
it's just
into that.
too many to keep up. I mean, even me as a comic book spaz, like when I was a little kid, I just monopolized my time, and there's just too much to keep up now.
It really is. I think they're trying to,
well, they're doing the same thing. They're striking while the iron's hot, right? Like,
yeah, no, totally. I get that. But for me, after Endgame, Avengers Endgame, I was just like, there's nothing more you can add to that or do to that that's going to make that. They wrapped it up in a perfect little bow and like sent it on their way. And I thought it was beautifully done and it was perfect. So from there, I was kind of like, I'm satisfied. I don't really need to, I don't need anything else. And then they killed Chris Evans. So I'm just like, they didn't kill him, but I'm like, now I'm done.
From an international model to a worldwide astronaut, retired Canadian astronaut Commander Chris Hadfield. You're talking engineer, former Royal Canadian Air Force fighter pilot. Chris flew 2 space shuttle missions. He was the commander of the International Space Station. And when he was a guest, he talked about whether you could see evidence of climate change from space.
Yeah, it depends on what scale you mean. Climate change can be local, right? If 7 million people live in the same city, they change the local climate. Absolutely. It's smog all over the city. It's hotter than normal because of all the pavement. So you can see localized climate change. And then the Aral Sea, which used to be the 4th biggest sea on Earth, in the last generation, just in the last 25 years, we've dried that up. We've dried up the 4th biggest sea on Earth deliberately because of irrigation policies and to try and water the cotton. And so the 4th biggest sea on Earth is gone. And you can see it like a huge blister, a huge scar on Earth. And of course, it's wildly affected a whole region of Kazakhstan and the surrounding countries there. And the glaciers that used to rely on the lake effect to get snow, they're receding. So that's man-made climate change on a bigger scale. But globally, it's a little harder because it's slow, and you have to compare pictures from a few years back. And so globally, it's harder to see, just like it is on the surface, just because it's a creeping thing. Mm-hmm. But when you compare the astronauts' pictures of glaciers or of where the edges of deserts are, or the Lake Chad even, it's obvious what's happening, and it's easy to stick your head in the sand. But for those of us who can actually see the world, you can't get 7 billion people breathing in and out and eating and turning the lights on and flushing their toilets. You don't get that for free. That definitely has an effect, and we need to think about it.
It's crazy to think, right? Visibly seeing evidence of climate change. Commander Hadfield became the first Canadian to walk in space back in 1995 and the first to operate the Canada arm. He's flown in 3 missions, built 2 space stations, performed 2 spacewalks, crewed the shuttle. He's also the first person to record an album in space. That's going to happen again, or if it does, it won't be very often. Listen to Chris talk about whether he believes that there's alien life form out there.
Do I believe there's alien? Well, it's not a belief system. It's either it's 1 or 0. It's a fact or it's not. So it's not really belief. Nobody has seen any evidence of life. 0. Everything is just hopeful and ignorance and not knowing what we're looking at. There is no clear evidence of life anywhere else in the universe, but we are looking. And so for me, it's just a matter of odds. We know for sure there's life on Earth. And with our best telescopes, just over the last few years, we started to be able to see planets around other suns, which is brand new for us as a species. We can actually count planets around other suns, so that now we can start to know roughly that every star has at least 1 planet around it. And stars we can see because they're bright enough, so we can start to do the math. And if you count the number of stars in our galaxy, and then you start counting galaxies, then you can immediately count it up and realize there are about 7 septillion planets that we know of, like a billion, a trillion, a quadrillion, all the way up to a septillion, 7 of those. And then that number is so indescribably huge that we just can't imagine it. And yet the odds are 7 septillion to 1 that we're not the only planet with life. So I think it's overwhelming that the odds that there's got to be life out there somewhere. But we've yet to find any evidence of it. And part of the main reason to explore is to see if we're alone or not. And so we're looking on Mars, and we're looking on Enceladus. We went as far as Pluto. All of that is kind of to answer that fundamental question. Because are we alone or not, and what do the distances really mean? And if we are the only life in the universe, then shoot, we should be a little more responsible about how we act.
And from Canada's first spacewalker to a network TV producer and travel writer named Heather Storm. You'll know Heather as a car lover in a big, big way. Nothing but respect for her. She was a guest on the second year of this podcast. And at the time, she was the host of Garage Squad on Discovery's Motor Trend Network, Street Tuner Challenge on Speed TV, and was a guest on Jay Leno's Garage. Present day, Heather is the creator and host of Drive Yourself Local, where she goes across America in her 65 Mustang looking for small town life. Here she talks about what is the hardest thing about fixing up an older car.
Oh, well, knowing where to start.
Yeah.
There's so many problems. You know, the older the car is and the longer it's been sitting, the more things that can have gone wrong with it. And you don't know because it's just sitting there.
Right.
So just kind of figuring out all of the nuances and all of the things that are really happening, and everything's related. If one thing isn't working, the rest of it isn't working. So really, it literally is figuring out where to start. There's a lot of times where, you know, we're like, well, we really can't move forward until we get this piece fixed right here.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else is on hold until you fix one thing. So I think it's just really understanding how it all fits together and knowing where to start, most of all.
I mean, it does seem kind of basic, but it's true, right? You got to find out what's wrong with the car first, and then you move from there. You've seen Heather in a bunch of TV shows as well, beyond what she hosts, like Nightingale, Epic Movie, Tosh.0. She's been in over 100 commercials. She was a recurring guest mixologist on the Playboy morning show as well. We got to talking about a lot of stuff. Her dream car. She shared a near-death story. Party nights and the drink of choice. We talked about career highlights. And Heather shared her first concert story as well.
You know what? In Montana, there weren't very many concerts, so I was like this late bloomer who had never been to concerts.
Yeah.
In high school. This is awful, but I can't even remember.
Come on.
What my first concert is. This is horrible. I know. My brain is, I'm racking. I'm like, I can actually remember that my brother went to Metallica, but I didn't go for some reason in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And Metallica was huge, really huge, especially in the 90s in Montana.
Yeah.
And
worldwide in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. You can't remember your first concert?
I can't. I know. And I'm going to remember it.
Of course, as soon as you hang up, yeah.
Entertainment guest visits are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best craft cannabis and psilocybin dispensary. Visit sacredmeds.com.
You got a big thing, and you swing it around for a bit. Do you realize it just don't fit in this whole wide world? Looks like a finger pointing at me. Might as well be raping the whole wide world. White girls. Don't fucking touch
be honest, this night is going to absolutely smoke. Her name is Kat Madden, and a new song for her called Don't Touch Me. Super excited to have Kat playing a podcast, Blue Light Sessions. It's not till April, so there's some time. But on Friday, April 26th at the Blue Light Studio, Kat Madden and Summer's brother each will get a 45-minute set. The interview, the performance, the intimate and interactive environment as well. You can buy tickets right now. Tickets are up through eventbrite.ca. Just $20 in advance. I think this one's going to sell out, so you may want to grab tickets right now to make sure that you will get into this show, okay? Through eventbrite.ca, or if you want to roll the dice, somebody blow on these dice, $25. If there's still tickets at the door. Doors are at 7 o'clock, as mentioned a couple times through this podcast now. Show starts at 8:15-ish, something like that. All right? So looking forward to our next podcast. You will hear from 12 guests and the superpowers that they would want to have. Like, how cool would that be to have a power, unlocking endless possibilities, flying or shooting lasers from your eyes, or mind-bending manipulation, teleportation, super strength. It really does. It defies the limits of human beings. I've always thought it'd be super cool to have a power. He's not a guest on the next podcast, so check out what Montreal Canadiens forward Alex Newhook said about superpowers.
That's a tough one. I think maybe super speed would be pretty cool.
Be able to turn it on right away. Boom.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
He's already pretty quick. Alex Newhook with super speed would be lethal. Next podcast, which superpower would you want to have? 12 guests will pick their powers. And with that, let's put this one to bed. This week, going over the years of the podcast, we're into year 10 now, and there's just been so many great guests to highlight. And honestly, this podcast went wildly longer than I'd ever anticipated. I honestly didn't think that I'd even get to year 3, and I do appreciate you being there. My name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for listening, for being there, for letting your friends know about us as well. We see it daily on social media. Lots of sharing, lots of commenting. We love that, of course, big time. It's all about that. It's all about engaging and interacting, with people that are listening and following along. We are part of the Realm.fm network, based out of New York City, worldwide distribution. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Megaphone. You can see all of our interviews, all the videos from our live shows at the Blue Light Studio at our YouTube channel. Comment and rate the podcast. It helps out. Search it out through Toddcast Podcast, of course. Huge thanks to all of our excellent sponsors. You can find links to all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast with your business, you can for as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage. And as always, help us find a sponsor and we'll give you a commission. Like, what? Did I just hear that right? Yeah, commission. Till next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Have fun. Play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast Podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 5-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 50% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
The Tudors were probably the most scandalous dynasty in British history. This season on Vulgar History, we're spilling the tea on this messy, messed up family and the people who had to live through it all. Anne Boleyn and the other wives of Henry VIII are known today from the musical Six, but who were they really? Did any of them actually want to marry him? Henry VIII, the man who was literally the worst? How did two of them manage to escape with their heads intact? We'll also get into historical mysteries like who really wrote Shakespeare's plays, who was the real Bloody Mary, and what was happening elsewhere in the world while the Tudors were trampling all over England, like the mysterious disappearance of the Roanoke colony and the true story of the girl known as Pocahontas. I'll be joined by Tudor historians, experts, and a few of my friends who really hate Henry VIII to learn all about the Tudors this season on Vulgar History. Because it's Henry VIII all day, every day. Listen to Vulgar History wherever you get podcasts.